welcome back to the RISR Review. I'm your host, Janie Reed, and on this podcast, we review what is going on with the AU Championship Series in Rosemont, Illinois, and then chat all things offense and mental training. So welcome. I'm here with Haylie, Stelli, and Chiddy, and you guys are going into week 3, and you guys are just getting started on the field. Like, my goodness, Haylie jumped 35 spots and is a captain. Stelli dropping grand slams casually. Chiddy hitting tanks and is also a captain this week. Like, the RISR squad is stacked. It's no secret.
Yeah, we are. We really are.
Jumped above 25.
Yeah, I think we all have jumped at least 25 spots from week 1 to week 2. Crazy.
Deja Blue treated you well, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's really nice to go 3-0.
Yeah, it really makes a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. So talk to me about just the adjustments that you guys have been making week to week and what has been leading to just like this increased success and just finding things in game, in at bat. Like, I think one of the most fun parts of the game is when you're working on something all week and then you make that adjustment in game. Chiddy, I loved your thing that you posted on Instagram. It was really cool because that's the game, and that's what makes it so fun. It's like 1 week you're rolling over all of these pitches, and the next week same pitch, and you're taking them oppo, over the fence, all that stuff. So why don't you start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I struggle with drop ball pitching, and I know that about my swing because I'm very much like coming from the top and, coming that way. I don't really drop my barrel head naturally. And so I've been struggling a lot with drop ball pitchers, and that's all that we face is drop pitchers. So it's like, am I going to just continue to roll over this ball, or am I going to find a new way? And actually it was what Haylie said that triggered in my head. Because I was talking about, like, for me, it's really hard when I see the pitch, I see it level. So I want to take it level. And then the pitchers are so good, it drops late, then I roll over it. And she had mentioned using the eyes to see the bottom half. I swear you said something about the eyes.
Bottom track.
Bottom track.
Bottom track.
And so then I was like, that's it. Like, I just need to change my eyes to the bottom inside half. And I was like, that's how I'm going to get to these pitches. And then also I need to be able to stay on that outside pitch longer. So I started doing my top hand work with the outside pitch, but really it was changing my eyes to see the bottom inside half. And then that way, when I saw the bottom inside half, I was going under it anyway. So it drops into my barrel and goes. So for me, that was like really helped for changing my eyes instead of telling myself, oh, just swing, drop my barrel head. So that was like the biggest adjustment I made, and I practiced it all week in practice off front toss and off the machine of just like bottom tracking the ball to get the bottom inside half. So I
love that.
Cool to see it all play out in the games, especially that home run off carry. It was a 3-2 count. Like, that to me, I never get to 3-2 count. So taking the pitches. Yeah, I was. Oh, that get to them. Yeah,
that must be nice.
Well, I always end up getting help out, so it's nice that you actually get to them. But anyways, yeah, I was waiting for that outside drop, and she, hadn't thrown it for a strike, and 3-2, she threw it, hit it oppo over the fence. I was like, oh my gosh!
In the picture of you rounding third after
that.
And your Chiddy rounds third. She comes into the pile of all of us, and there's a picture that she's like,
yeah,
like
I'm under it.
But it was super cool. It was super cool as like a teammate to see that progress, because like going through it, I mean, that's a whole different experience. But like seeing it on the outside, like seeing her struggle, I knew like she would roll over, and I knew those were pitches she was just missing. She was getting so frustrated, rolling over, and then you see her working her butt off at practice, and they're not the best practices. Like, she's not hitting home runs at practice awful. Like, you can tell she's still like trying to figure it out. And then I remember one BP round we had in the dome, she kept hitting laser beam shots, like outside line drives. And that's what she was focusing on. I was like, oh, that's so cool that she's like controlling her barrel like that. And then we get to the game and it just happened. Like, she just does it 3-2, and she's trusting herself, trusting literally that whole week, and still waiting for that pitch. And then she just laser shots one like home run. When she comes rounding, that was the best part. She's like, I did it. I was like, as like a teammate, seeing that whole thing is super cool.
Yeah, and you're just so happy for them.
Yeah, we were talking about in the dugout too, like bottom half, like see the bottom inside half, like just track it down, bottom half.
It's just like that's softball and it happened in 1 week. I was just like, you see literally the downs and then the ups, and it's like that's literally what softball is and this level.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
And for those listening, if it's not clear, like tracking the bottom of the ball when you're facing a drop ball pitcher, and then like tracking the top of the ball when you're facing the rise ball pitcher, it just kind of brings your eyes to where you want to hit the ball. Because I think most of the time we're just trying to find the yellow thing. But as you face pitchers that have movement, then you can kind of start creating more complex approaches with your eyesight and stuff like that. Awesome. I love it. So what about you, Stelli? Have you been making any specific adjustments throughout the weeks?
Yeah, I think for me, it's more of my approach in the box. I don't know. I've just been more confident in the box with being aggressive, and usually I'm very hesitant in being aggressive. Like I would take the first 2 pitches, or if they pipe one, I've never seemed to be ready. And now I think I've just got into the box where I trust my swing a lot right now. I trust my eyesight, and I think it's been I've been doing visual edge going into this, and I think I've been just really dialed in with the ball. And Gwen made a comment. She was like, "You are just a really hard out right now," and I feel like I'm a really hard out because I'm seeing all zones, and so I think just going in and changing my approach to being ready as soon as my pitch is in there and fouling off pitches that maybe aren't things that I want, or I know they're gonna maybe call a strike, I'll foul them off and still try to wait for my pitch. And so I just think my whole approach is a little bit different this year. And just trusting that. So even when I have a bad BP day or a bad day at practice, like I trust that when I get in the game, I still have that confidence in the box.
I think she's like on top of that is like at practice, she's working on in, and then she's working on the out, she's working on the change up. So it's like she's working on all those different pitches so that she can like trust that approach come game time. So it's not just telling yourself, oh, trust the approach. Like she's physically working on it every day at practice with high, up and in, low, in, like out, all parts of the zone, and crushing each of those pitches.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from just seeing fat pitches, middle, and BP. Like I want to get uncomfortable, and having BP pitchers like the facilitators that we have that can throw changeups, throw in and out, is helping a lot with when you get in the game, because if you're uncomfortable at practice, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in the game.
Yeah, I think people sometimes misuse, trusting yourself. You can't trust yourself to do something that you've never done before. So I think trusting yourself in game comes from, I've proven to myself that I can do this in practice. I've put in the work, the time, everything. Now I'm just going to trust that I can also do it in the game. And you have also been making adjustments in the field. You played right field and you're used to being behind the plate, and you got to do what you got to do sometimes to like get in the lineup, and maybe another catcher isn't as versatile as you. So talk about what that's been like.
I mean, I've always wanted to do everything I can to be in the lineup. My favorite thing is hitting. And so growing up, that's always been taught to me, is just be athletic and be able to play multiple positions. So I think from a young age, the more positions you play, the better. You learn a lot more things, especially the more sports you play, you also just become more athletic, which is super important right now. But just being able to say, I don't just catch, like I can play right field, I can play left field, I can play third, I can DH. I always tell the captains, like, whatever you need me to do to just stay in the lineup, because I just want to hit. So I think that's been helping a lot. And especially at this level, when every catcher is top tier and every position is top tier, like you have to find that extra, you have to find that extra thing to kind of give you an advantage, and just to always stay in the lineup.
Yeah, big time.
Love it. Awesome. What about you, Halo? Any adjustments you've been making?
Yeah, I made the biggest adjustment I think I made mechanically with my swing was the first weekend. I felt like I was always thinking the ball was gonna be inside, and for some reason, like I kept opening my stride just a little bit too early. Not necessarily stepping in the bucket, but I was just creating way too much unnecessary space. So the adjustment that I tried to make was to get my front foot down a little bit earlier and square. So I worked a lot of outside tee. pretty much all week during practice. And then again, just getting a good mix of BP stuff and trying to feel comfortable, letting the ball get deep, keeping my hands inside the ball, and being like down and ready to go, ready to launch on time, not late. And I didn't want to spin off of anything. So I worked on staying through the ball, behind the ball, and trying to hit the ball in the left center gap every single time. So
it's pretty cool if you were flying the wall.
I
I was gonna say it's pretty cool if you were flying the wall coming into our practices. Like everyone is so just like laser in on what they want to work on, you know, like you come in at one time and Stelli's all on the tee, like doing her thing, and then you come in at different time, Halo is all on the tee doing one thing. So it's like, you know, super intentional, which is really cool to see.
And that's what professional softball should look like. And, you know, knowing and working on your craft. And I think that the more opportunities that we have for women to play professional softball, then, you know, the better the talent and the better the culture is going to be, and the work ethic and all that. Haylie, I was going to ask you, because I feel like I can kind of relate on being a lefty and just kind of poking the ball through the infield. And at what point in your career were you like, I'm not going to settle for it? Because when you're talking about kind of pulling off, I'm thinking, I've seen you do that, but still poke a ball through the 5-6 hole, poke a ball up the middle. So at what point were you like, okay, I can get away with that, but I also know that I can be driving the ball and I could be hitting, you know, for extra base hits? And at what point did you kind of raise your standard for yourself?
I mean, it's been like a slow evolving process, I think, over the past couple of years, because like I'm always happy when I get a hit, like especially if I go down the line, very happy with a single, right? But it just felt like there was like a little bit more that I could have been doing. And so I really focused on, like, I did probably more work hitting wise in this off season than I have in a little bit. Go RISR, right? Just filming lessons, but also like being mindful that I feel like I needed to work on. And that was just a big part of, like, I wanted to add a little bit more power this offseason, and I think it's kind of starting to come together for me now. But it's been like extension focused. It's been letting the ball travel a little bit longer, not being so quick to make a decision, because I'm a natural forward mover in my swing. I don't really pivot around like a steady base like most hitters do. I tend to move forward a little bit. So I kind of leaned into that and decided to make the most power out of what I naturally do. And it's been working. So
I mean, she hit a late.
Heck yeah.
I don't think I've ever. I've never done
that ball. I was like, never. Well, it's not going to happen this weekend against the purple team. So.
Because Lily's not pitching for purple. Well, whoever is pitching for purple could happen.
It's not going to happen.
Darn.
Your little bloopers. Let's go.
Yeah, we kind of forgot to mention, you guys.
My full side home run that I hit 250 was over right field.
Yeah, I like how you know how far you hit it this year. Okay, so we mentioned that you guys were in Rosemont and you guys got to do a camp in Chicago this past week. So how did that go? What was it like working with kids? I know it's always good for us to kind of, you know, give back to the sport and also remember what those younger levels are going through, because sometimes we can be so, you know, laser focused on what we're doing. So share a little bit about that. Chiddy, you can start.
Okay. I was going to make one of them start. No, it was awesome. You know, the way that our schedule worked, it worked out. We were able to go, and we had over 60 kids show up. And so it was just awesome for all three of us to be there. We're just missing you, but like to be able to, you know, the kids knew Athletes Unlimited were. Some of the kids at the camp were already using the RISR app. Now there's going to be, you know, more that to get involved with the RISR app, because they get a free month for doing the camp. They get a free month of RISR. So just like for them, like they were just wanting to learn. They were just sponges in there. So to be able to go through some of the, you know, basics of feeling the body in the swing, you know, the basic movements of the sequencing in the swing, and being able to teach that and give them more of a foundation to work off of was awesome. And to be able to do it all together was, you know, was even better.
Yeah, I think there's a good amount of girls, and having all three of us there, definitely a good amount of eyes on everybody. So I think everybody got the right amount of focus from us instructors. And we went over, I think, 3 exercises that are like the swing, like that these girls can take with them for the rest of their career. And it's stuff I think that have gotten them excited for RISR, because when we plugged RISR at the end, it's like when we were explaining these exercises, you could tell that they were like slowly getting it every rep. And then it's like, okay, now you can keep doing this on RISR. And like, you can just tell that like, that's definitely especially when they start seeing that outcome at the clinic, they know that like, if they just continue this, it could happen. So it was really nice to be able to do that. And then the mental training was, it was really, they were super involved in that as well.
Yeah, one girl brought a notebook with like all of her favorite like players on the cover of the notebook, and she was like,
it wasn't any of them.
It wasn't. No, it was Rachel Garcia, who's on Team Orange this week. So go orange.
Our guy.
Yeah, our queen. But no, like the mental training is always typically my favorite part of camps that I get to do, and just how into it they were. And
They
like,
were into it.
They were so bought in about writing their goals out, and I just had this vision of like a girl writing that at that camp, and then like a few years later, we just very well may hear like, hey, I accomplished my goal that I wrote at that RISR camp back in Illinois in 2020 or whatever. So it was just a really cool experience. They were little sponges. They were so bought into everything that we were teaching them, and I love seeing kids take ownership of their own process. Like I think the earlier that you can do that, the better. Knowing what works for you. And being open and coachable in all aspects, but kind of they filtered through their cues that we gave them, I think, really well to figure out what worked for them best. So it was really fun.
Awesome. Sounds like it was a hit.
Yeah.
So speaking of those young athletes, sorry, what did I say? Oh, like no pun intended.
Yeah. Okay, I thought that was
dude. But speaking of those youth
out of the park.
Okay, I'm not that lame. All right, so kids getting ready, those same kids, potentially kids all around the country, softball girls getting ready to try out. What type of advice do you guys have? I already shared mine on the RISR Instagram. So what do you guys got for them?
I think that going into a tryout, like just go, like it's nerve-wracking and like you're gonna feel all those, but take that deep breath and just go for it. Like I'd rather go for something all out and not make the team than be hesitant and like, oh, what? I'm not really sure, and not make the team. Like no regrets, like hustle everywhere. Just go for it, like swing and feel those ground balls, launch them over to first. If you airmail it, you airmail it. Like don't hold back. I just think that I did that as a kid sometimes, like just that fear sometimes creeps in. And then luckily I was able to just like, no, stop, like just go play. And I just like would just like take off. So, but I know this, and I know we all have been through tryouts, like it happens, but you just gotta like know, okay, I do feel this because I want it bad. And like, I'm gonna play through it type deal.
Yeah, I think kind of going off what Chiddy said, like just play, but more than anything, a coach will see your effort and will see, especially after an error, like that's what is important. So it's okay to make errors. And I think that's what players like start to forget, is like they have to be perfect every single time, but it's like, you're gonna make errors, even at this level, you're gonna make errors, but like, how do you bounce back? And do you want another rep? Do you want another chance? Like, do you want to get back in that box and face a pitcher that just struck you out twice? And so I think like, even if your tryout isn't the best, a coach will see the effort and the attitude that you had. And I, as a coach, will take someone won't stop fighting for a chance over someone that is trying to be perfect every single time and maybe not laying out because they don't want to maybe make an error and get the ball to hit off their glove. Like I'd like someone that goes all out all the time. And if they make that effort or if they make that error, like I want them to want to go back in there and get another rep. Like that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, to go back in there, get that
next rep. I love that. I think controlling what you can control is so critical to remember in a tryout, because so many times like the results that you have are outside of your control. You can hit a hard line drive, but you just hit it right at somebody. You know what I mean? Like there are just so many variables in the game, but you can always control your attitude and effort. So attitude, being a good teammate, your body language, especially after you make an error. I think your presence goes way farther than you give it credit for in a tryout.
Mhm.
Like I want to be like, if I'm gonna try out, I want to be noticeable. I want you to notice me regardless of what my results are. But I want you to remember, like, oh, she just carries herself with so much confidence, with so much swag.
She played out for those balls.
She
even though
hustled.
wasn't
Yeah, she wasn't scared. She was fearless. Like she said, so what next pitch? Like she just had that like presence about her. I think coaches want players like that on their team. And then just the hustle, like the it.
Yeah,
You know what I
the
mean?
hustle.
Like there's no really word for it.
Be a good teammate. Like, want everybody to succeed. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. In trials, it's like cheer for everybody
Mhm.
and be there for like you want everybody to play their best, because when everybody's playing their best, it's easier to give your all. Like if I'm surrounded by people that want to compete and are constantly wanting to compete, like that's gonna bring the fire out in me. And so like that comes with cheering people on and like hyping somebody up. If someone hits a home run, like hype them up, and then you get in the box and you have all that energy. It's like, oh, like she went all out. Like I want to go all out too. So it's just like be that energy plug that you can be, and then just bounce off of that as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think one more thing too, like people know that like striking out is stinks, right? Like you don't need to show that, right? I remember going through this phase when I was like 14, that when I would strike out, I needed to show people I was upset. So like I would throw my bat or like hit my helmet, because it was like they need to know that this is not okay with me. And quickly realized like that is not the way to do it. Like I went through that phase, I felt like I had to show people that, like, trust me, everyone knows. No one wants to do it. So you know, yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
You can still be
Definitely.
feisty.
Yeah.
You don't have to show all of that.
That's
That's the
Still
rest
be.
of your game.
You can still be angry.
Yeah, there's a fine line between like competing and then like crossing that line and making it awkward for the people around you, and
you don't need to make it dramatic.
Don't make it.
and making it about you.
Good answer.
But don't let it affect the rest of the game. Like,
Right.
be mad, but then the minute you go back on the field, it's over.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say also, we're saying all this advice because we've all struggled with all of it, you know?
You still
And
do.
so
we still do.
exactly. So let's say once you've made the team, you're new on the team, I don't know, you're 13, you're just like a new group of girls. Can you guys remember a time where you're like trying to make new friends or trying to fit in? Even there have been a few times, maybe in AU, by now you're probably comfortable with everyone, but you know, there's like new people every year, or maybe when you first became a pro. Just think back to a time where you can kind of give advice to a younger girl that's like really nervous to like go to that first team practice, you know?
I used to, when I played basketball, and I used to cry that I didn't want to go to softball practice because it was a new team and I didn't want to go. And I was like, I'm in basketball with all my friends, and now my parents are making me go on Sundays to this new team that I don't know anyone. And I would literally just like, I don't want to go. And I would cry. And my parents would, you're getting in the car and we're going. And it was awful. But every time I walked in and we were playing softball, it was all better because we all loved softball and we all had one common thing. One thing in common with each other. So it was like, that was something I could always fall back on. It's like that we're all having fun together playing the same sport. And so that was what always saved me, because I hated that process of meeting new people. But like, as much as I had fun playing the game, like it just started like putting my guard down more and more with that group of people, like where I was like, okay, these girls aren't too bad. Okay, yeah, we're all having fun together. Okay, like now we can make some jokes. Like it just slowly, it was a slow process for me, and I dreaded those moments.
I was a very nervous child. I was super shy. I didn't like talking to anybody, especially new people. So I feel that because before every tryout, before every new practice with a team, like I would be so nervous and just be like the girl in the corner that wouldn't say a word. But there's not one time that I don't remember coming out of that practice or that tryout with like, I just like Chiddy said, you're surrounded by people that have the same passion as you. So I just remember always being super nervous, but then coming out of practice and going to my mom and being like, I love this team so much. Like But like I don't remember how that happened.
Yeah.
I just remember like I was so scared and then I'd come out loving it. And like I was time and come out loving it. So I think the more I did that, the more I realized, okay, even though I'm nervous, I'm gonna come out loving it no matter what. My confidence, and like now I just make conversation. I can make conversation with a wall, it'd probably be fine, but that it's a build up. So now it's just it's different.
Yeah, I think to that point, it's like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, don't be so like caught up in, oh, I hope my team likes me. I hope my team likes me. And that's what gives you that anxiety, right? Instead, going in, knowing you're going to make new friends. Like, I made new friends on every single team that I ever played for all the way growing up. Was I friends with every single person? Not necessarily. But I did have those 2, 3, 4 people on each and every team that I played on that like, I had no idea who they were coming in. We got to play together. We got to spend time together and be around the game that we love. So go in knowing you're going to make new friends and be excited about that.
Just be you. Don't be the person that like, is lying or talking about other people. Just you and love the game.
Yep. That's so true. I remember even in college, like we couldn't practice for the first week or something when we come back, and we would only be lifting, and it's like there always seemed to be more drama, and then as soon as we get on the field together, it's like all that would go away. Like softball is just the thing that kind of like gets everyone on the same page, and everything just kind of seems like it flows easily. So walking up, getting your cleats on, like that's all very nerve-wracking, and that's normal. But then as soon as you start, you ask someone to play catch and you get into the swing of things, like
there you go.
That's it.
Boom, you're good.
Yep.
Such good advice. Well, thanks again for taking the time this week, and I'm really excited. I know it's a little different dynamic. You're not all on the same team, so heartbreaking, but I'm looking forward to you guys battling it out on the field and continuing to just crush it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purple's RISR colors. So orange has nothing to do with purple. Nothing.
It's unfortunate that I'm number 2 on the leaderboard.
Oh!
Why are we so competitive?
We're so competitive.
It's not week 5, Halo. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not week 5.
It's not. I was number 2 on the leaderboard with Halo Super Stu. You remember, Janie? And then that went south really quickly. So,
But we had really cool like celebrations that we got to do one time.
That was the most memorable 0-3 AU team I've ever seen.
The most we really went 0-3.
What's your guys' orange team name?
Halo's Hotties.
Oh.
Nice.
Running
out of options.
Ours is Chiddy and Friends.
Like Barney.
Cute. That's so cute.
We have a song too,
Yeah.
but I won't sing it right now.
Oh man.
Make sure everyone's watching on Saturday. When orange and purple.
You don't.
The showdown.
Yes.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks,
And we'll see you
Janie.
guys next
See you,
week.
Janie.